You are redeemed. While we were dead in our sins, Christ died for us. By the forgiveness of sins, we've got a new chance at life. We are now redeemed from sin. We are now redeemed to share our stories. We are now redeemed to share the good news. Let the redeemed tell their story. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Redeem Podcast. My name is Gina, and I have two lovely guests here with me. Please do the honors of introducing yourselves.
Awesome. My name is Mr. Martin Asante.
And I'm Mrs. Enid Asante.
Okay, we got the Asantes in the house. You know, all Asantes here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to win all generations through our daily livings and professions. So we're going to get straight into it today. How y'all doing today?
Awesome.
How you
Doing
doing?
well. We're
Good.
doing well.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the topic for today is mental health. So we're going to start off easy and smooth. What is mental health, or what is the importance of mental health?
I believe mental health is something that's very important, right? Because it can either make you or break you. You can get to a point where you've reached your breaking limit, and based on that determines, kind of how you're feeling or kind of that direction that you're going. Or it can make you also, right? When you have positive vibes, positive mindset. You're not too stressed, and you're really able to, flow freely. So
Yeah.
it can either make you or break you, I feel.
Absolutely. Good, strong mental health really can impact how you move about in your day to day life and your walk with Christ. If you're struggling with mental health, getting up in the morning is hard. And if you have really good mental health, it makes going through everyday struggles easy and breezy.
Okay, yeah. So y'all are married. It's been a
Yeah.
year now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Almost.
June 10th.
Yeah,
June
Almost
10th.
a year,
Oh,
and
yeah.
y'all have been married for a year. So, what are some ways that y'all practice good mental health or good patterns of mental health?
Oh, man. One thing for sure is that, like, on Sundays, we like to do a breakdown.
Okay.
And usually we do our breakdown at Waffle House.
Okay.
So shout out to Waffle House for giving us that all-star meal.
Okay.
All-star. And we both get all-stars too, but we use that opportunity to really break down the week, how our weeks went, and then, to catch up for how our week is going to go for the following week. So I love Waffle House.
So during that debrief, do y'all work on ways that y'all can be better for each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were dating before we got married,
Mhm.
Martin would have us do like monthly check ins because we were doing long distance. So he'd be like, what went really well? What didn't you like? And I had to come up with pros and cons. And I don't like talking about my feelings like that. So it really made us grow and really be intimate. And
But now you're
vulnerable.
okay with talking
I'm
freely
better.
about your feelings.
I'm better.
Oh, yeah. She
Okay,
loves it.
so the
She loves it.
communication is a 10.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay. That's good. Okay, so we're gonna get into church and mental health.
Okay.
So, do you see, or what are some examples that you may have seen in the church of leaders doing better with talking about mental health with the youth specifically?
One thing, honestly, so I've grown up in the church my whole life, and as the world is changing, so are people.
Yes.
And one thing that I've realized is that, of course, mental health really initially wasn't a big thing, right? People were not really, speaking on it.
Yeah.
But as the world was coming up, these things tend to pop up. But I've also realized that our leaders have been able to adapt to it, and so. My previous leaders, for instance, or teachers, I realized that they're more understanding of some of these things, right? And they know how to better go about with it,
Okay.
in terms of their way of understanding it, and then how to respond to it, right?
Well, so what are some ways that you think they could provide support?
Definitely open door policy.
Okay.
Having an open door policy is mandatory because you want to create an environment where people can come to you and speak to you openly without feeling judged. You see what I'm saying?
So have you experienced that firsthand? Do you think there's an open environment from like growing up in this church or anywhere?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about you?
I agree. And I definitely think it helps that as our generation is putting an emphasis on mental health, that we have like counselors and mental health professionals and therapists in the Church of Pentecost community, so they can understand how it is like growing up in America with African parents and growing up in a Pentecostal church.
Big, yeah.
So I definitely think that helps too, because they can see where we were coming from.
Okay, so for me, I haven't really. Okay, there's a stigma behind this whole mental health thing, and most of us, when I say most of us, I mean youth, like my age group, we feel like there's not any freeness. There's no way to like produce open dialogue. We feel like we're gonna get judged or whatever the case is. So how is it that the leaders can make an open door policy so that we can freely talk about anything?
I think you made mention of something here that brought up a word in my mind, trust, right? Because you said that you want them to, you want to go in a way where you don't feel like, you're being judged.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to trust them, right? To open up to them. And then also trust them that after you express yourself to them, they won't go and spread whatever you told them. So that's very important. And I think as leaders, we should be able to do that. Right, where we have an open door policy, but we also have to understand that after that door is open, once the situation has been expressed to you, you then close it to outsiders, right, and then you personalize it within you and then the certain individual.
Yeah, because you don't want your business out
Exactly.
on the whole congregation. But I think what helps that trust is our leaders also opening up themselves and relating personally.
See,
because it is
good.
hard when someone comes up to you and maybe you're not too familiar with them. I guess, when we were growing up, it used to be like, oh, you'll be fine, just pray.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like, I went through that too. And this is what helped me. And this is what I read. And this is the Bible plan that I use. So I think it has to go both ways. As people come and open up to us, we got to open up to them too.
I was going to say, you'd be very surprised by how the leaders, they've gone through certain situations that you're probably going through as well. But, with them too, they have to understand that just as we're also wanting to express ourselves to you, you can also express yourself to us as well, right? So that we know that, hey, it's not a perfect world. Nobody's perfect. And so, open up to me as well so that I know that I can.
Okay. Now, as a person looking from the other side, like, for example, if I'm going to a church leader, what if I'm just venting to them and they're not like trying to be relatable? Like, they're just like, do this, do that. Because a lot of, well, not a lot, but most of our leaders are older, so they're kind of stuck in the old school mentality. So it's kind of hard to talk about the problems now in this generation because they don't understand. They've been through some of the situations, but going about it was different from when they were our age.
Exactly.
So how is it that we get that balance? Should we find someone else to talk to?
You might need to find someone else to talk to.
Get somebody else to do it.
Not every person is your person.
Yeah, that's
okay.
true.
That's their person for someone else.
That's
but
true.
There's bound to be at least one person who can relate and can understand, or at least can guide you and help you find who it is that you need to speak to specifically. You might just need to find another person.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I think I do commend my church also because they do they are allowing a lot of the younger people to also come into these offices, right? Who have lived in the United States, for instance, right, and growing up here, so we understand the challenges that we face, and so we're able to relate more to those that may be going through it. As you mentioned, the older people may not understand, but in us, that are younger, we're able to understand, and then also having resources, right? So we are not able to answer, your questions or attend to you. To your needs, then we also have resources that we can direct you.
Like resources, like what?
Let's see, counselors.
Various
so counselors
outside of the church.
Yep, outside of the church.
Okay.
Yeah, so a third party to assist you in that.
We also have some inside the church.
Yeah.
Really?
We do. We have some. I'm thinking of I think she's a deaconess now, Deaconess Doreen.
Yeah.
She lives in the DMV where I came from. She is definitely on social media, and I'm sure she has connections if you can't reach her all the way there. But, there are people in the church.
Okay. So when someone is going through an episode where they're just really sad, they're anxious, or they're depressed, what are the steps you think they should take to kind of come out of that? Is it more so of a community thing, or does it start with that person?
Oh, that's a very good question. Man.
Because it could be both.
It
think
could be both.
Yeah.
It
I
could
think
be
it could be
both.
both.
But in the case that someone can't drag themselves out of it, what do they do?
Well, I think that's where the community steps in. So if you notice someone hasn't been coming to church, or they used to join the live every Monday or Bible study on Wednesdays and they haven't been coming, you could always text or call and maybe even pop up and be like, "Hey, I haven't seen you.
Do
Are
you
you
like
okay?"
pop-ups?
You know you don't like pop-ups.
I don't like pop-ups. Okay, but I appreciate a text or call. I
Okay.
appreciate a text or call. Or they have to know someone. And if that's the case, if they're reaching out like, "Hey, I'm super stressed, I'm super busy, or life's really been, hitting me hard," you can be like, "Well, what do you want me to pray about for you or with you? Or do you want me to take you out to lunch or something?" So I think it could be both, because some people find it hard to ask for help. And I think it just takes
I don't
a little.
like asking for help.
Yes, I'm a strong, independent Black woman who needs no man. But I think it can work both ways. I used to say that all the time.
Yeah, but you have me though now, huh? So,
and I thank God for you.
thank you. But I would say with regards to that, it's definitely important for you to express yourself. Sometimes, honestly, we may not have all the answers, and you'd be surprised. Like someone said Google, and I told them sometimes when you Google, like if you have some symptoms, right, let's say you're sick,
It's gonna
and
tell
you
you
have
the
some
worst.
symptoms,
Right.
yes,
You got
and then you
cancer.
go on Google, and then
It's
when
gonna
you
tell
see
you
the
the
answers, you're like, man, you see what I'm saying, this is
Yeah.
what I have, and then you begin to
Yes.
panic, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a community around you, you can definitely go to them. That's honestly the best route for me, I would say, because you can express yourself. And then if they've gone through those experiences, then yeah, rather than you going the route where it's like seeking the answers, elsewhere where you may not get the answers that you may want to hear at that time. Yeah, that's what I'll say towards
Okay, I have two things to say to what you said.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned having a community and making sure that your people are okay. Now, there could be people that can put a smile on their face, they're laughing, they're joyful,
That's
but
true.
deep down, something is deeply wrong with them, but they're good at hiding those emotions that you would never know. So, how do you assess that as a friend or a community?
I wouldn't honestly.
Is that where the Holy Spirit comes in?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. That also plays a part, of course. As we know it, right? That plays a part, but I think it also goes back again to being transparent, right? Fellowshipping with one another. You don't limit yourself to where you I guess have that time together on. I think there are various places, settings that you can really come together, right, to really fellowship and get to know one another on a personal level. You see what I'm saying? And then through that, you see like an icebreaker, right? So then they'll be able to open up to you in a way where you didn't even know about, and then vice versa. And so it's I think having that fellowship as well is very important in regards to that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I do feel like as a community, we kind of need to do better because sometimes someone will tell us something and they'll be like, "Oh, I'll pray for you,"
Yeah.
and that was the prayer.
Yeah.
They don't go.
That's true. They don't
Yeah,
even go anywhere with that.
that's
That's true.
They don't go and say a prayer. So I think praying with them could be a start for them to see a change because they know that someone actually cares and wants me to come out of it. Because I know personally, if people don't come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm here for you, I'm here with you," and they're not persistent, I'm just gonna like brush it off and think it's not that
Exactly.
deep.
Yeah.
But it's not until someone comes to me and says, you need to work on this. We're in this together. I'm your
Exactly.
friend.
You're
I'm
not alone.
Exactly. So having a solid community that will bring you closer to God and expressing your feelings well is really important. Because me personally, I was just like her. I don't like talking about my feelings.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care. I'm
fine. I got it.
I got it. I'm very nonchalant with my things. So I'm like,
Okay.
and then it's like you have to keep asking, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's
Yeah.
wrong?" And I know for the other party, it's really annoying.
But at what point do you feel like enough is enough?
When I'm crying. When I'm crying.
Yes. Or when
crying.
somebody else outside of that person tells me you need to chill out. Like
Yeah.
you need to actually express yourself or else you're not ever gonna go anywhere. You're gonna just keep going in a repetitive circle and there's no progress. You can't
Yeah.
elevate
That's
from that.
Downward spiral.
Yeah, so
no, that's
it's
true.
like we need to do better.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't told someone, "Oh, I'm gonna pray for you." What was the prayer? Where was the prayer? Okay, so what about stories in the Bible? Who do you notice in the Bible that had depression or was really sad?
I believe first Samuel chapter 16 talks
Okay.
about David. David was anointed by God. He was chosen by God.
Uh-huh.
And he was to take over for then King Saul.
Mhm.
And so something happened later on in the verse 16 where whenever there was a distress spirit that came upon King Saul then, but then whenever David ministered on his harp, that distress spirit came out of King Saul, right?
Mhm.
And so what I noticed there is that we all have this actually. This, we don't need to be anointed with oil to have it, right? We all have the Holy Spirit, right? And so we can also minister to others for that distress, whatever mental issues that they're going to, for that to be, released or free from them. And so I look at David in First Samuel 16 on that for as a Bible story.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was really good. I am not the scholar my husband is, but if I remember correctly, like Moses had a stutter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
when God was like, "You got to go free my people," he was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
Get
And
someone else to do it.
I can 100% relate because
Uh-huh.
I'm an introvert. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
I gotta go
Them
against
your
Pharaoh.
people.
And
Yeah.
now I gotta send plagues.
Mhm.
Like that's a lot. But I think the main point is even though he had his doubts, he had his struggles, and I'm sure he did not want to do it, tried every way not to do it. With God, he was able to do it. He didn't do it himself. He did it with God and through God. So I think that's the main thing, that we might not be able to do ourselves. We won't be able to do it ourselves. But if we have God and we know that he's in our corner and we're doing it for his glory, it'll all work out.
Amen.
And it did.
Amen.
That's a very good point there, honestly, and good one there, babe. I feel like with that we all should know that we have God with us, right? In that case, as you said with Moses, right? He mentioned, of course, with his history too, he didn't feel like he was qualified, right? But at the end of the day, we have God with us. That's why I think Psalms chapter 23, the verse 4, I love so much. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." You see what I'm saying? And so those that don't know that, we're also here to minister, to them so that they understand that, hey, regardless of whatever situation you're going through, God is with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like those two examples. Those was good. The Moses one, feel like I could really relate to, because it's been times where someone is like, "Oh, go tell these people this," or "Go." I'd be like, "No, you go do it. I'm
Get
scared."
someone else to do it.
Yeah, get somebody
Yeah,
else.
that's
I'm
true.
scared.
That's true.
Or
That's
like,
true.
That's not my ministry.
yeah, or like even to go up and announce something, I'll be like, "No, get T-Wall to do it. Get Martin to do it."
Yeah.
No, I don't want to. I'm scared. But it's
Yeah.
like he really got that boldness from God, from trusting in him that he will not fail. Whether he has a stutter or he's nervous or he gonna break down, he was still able to do it. And no matter how, because it was trials. It wasn't just one time, one and done. He had to keep sending.
He had to keep going
Keep
back.
keep going back. Keep going back. And it was a cycle, but eventually,
Of course.
I think so. Do you guys think that Job was depressed after everything was taken away?
Ooh, definitely. I mean, I would be.
Yeah.
I mean, who can go through that? To lose your family, to lose everything.
But do you think it was depression? Because he was like, yes, God gave me everything and he could also take it away. So I feel like he had that understanding that
he definitely had that.
There's the understanding and then there's living it. I think the living it is.
So would you say he was living
I
it?
would say so. I mean, I'm reading it and I'm trying to relate. I'd be depressed.
Yeah,
everything was taken away.
Definitely. I mean, but do we really want to say depressed though? I feel like
what's wrong with saying depressed?
I mean, it's not even that, because he still understood that God is with him.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
so that's where it's like,
God.
Yeah.
That's all he's got.
It's true.
That's all he has.
So I mean, yeah, but for us personally, I mean, I know we'll definitely feel depressed. Sometimes it's hard going through situations like that. If you were to go through a situation like that, I mean, man,
tough.
Yeah, I pray none of us go through that.
Amen.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
So he was just deeply saddened.
I mean, well, I feel like depression is a period of intense sadness, moroseness, whatever you want to call it. So I'd consider that. I consider depressed.
Yeah, because he lost everything. He was one of the most richest men. He
Yeah.
had everything you could imagine,
But he
and then
stayed through it. He stayed through it. He endured it. And look at the results from what he endured. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And so that just goes to show you that, if there's a way, there's a will, and there's a God,
Hmm.
to make things happen.
now let me
So,
ask you this,
yeah,
because ultimately it was a test.
a test.
Satan
Yes.
wanted to see if he'd still be loyal, if he'd ever curse God. Do you think God puts us in situations to see if we will remain loyal to him?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and to show his glory at the end
Yeah.
of it, at the end of the test and
Yeah,
tribulation.
sometimes he'll give you something little to see what how you feel about it,
Hmm.
and through that little thing too, you ought to be grateful and thankful, and then you never know what's on the other side. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And so it's a test to see, my daughter, my son. Let's see what you're gonna do with this. Let's
Hmm.
see how you're gonna feel about this, and then come out of it.
Okay. So as a deacon,
Oh,
Deacon Watson, what are some new ways you think we could implement something in the church to bring more awareness to mental health? Because a lot of people deal with it and they don't know how to. They literally just don't know what to do, how to go about it. So, what are some new ways we can implement in our church or churches around that will help people come out and express what they're going through?
so I'm actually a testament of this. I'm glad you brought that up because for me, there was one Pastor Fode Dumbaya. He was a pastor in North Carolina, and of course we went for a youth camp, and he opened up in a way where honestly I was surprised. I was like, wow, so you went through this as well, and so I could relate to him. And I had a conversation with him after service one of the days, and I'm like, wow, you're as human as I am, and so we make mistakes. So from there, it made me realize that having various programs where we give that opportunity, right, for people to express themselves, to see what they're going through, fellowship with one another. Maybe someone else has gone through the same situation
Yeah,
and they
you
were
wouldn't
able to
know.
come out.
Yeah.
So how were you able to come out of it?
Hmm.
And then I can learn from you so that I too can come out of it. So having those platforms, those programs, I think will really, really help. It helped me. And so I know will definitely help others as well. If we're to host that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're in healthcare, correct?
Yes.
Do you mind saying what department?
I am a registered nurse. Right now, I
Okay.
work in post surgical services.
Okay. So do you come in contact with a lot of depressed people?
In a way, so I take care of elective surgery. So they chose to have surgeries, whether they had cancer and got whatever it is removed. I also take care of plastic surgery patients. So they didn't like something about their body and they chose to fix it as best as they could.
Mm.
But even people who just came in to get like a kidney removed, all of them have like some kind of mental health issue. It could be anxiety, it could be depression, and just kind of navigating that after they had surgery and are in pain and kind of not with it a little bit. So even people who don't come in for mental health issues still have it in their history.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this last question and we're going to wrap up. Do you think that provides an outlet for you to spread the gospel? Not only you in general, but
Yeah,
people working.
I think it does because not many people have surgery on a regular basis. And so they don't know how they're going to react to the anesthesia and the pain medication. And a lot of the times their family was there with them, at the beginning, and now maybe they went to get lunch. So a lot of times the first time they wake up after surgery, they're looking at me. And I've had to hold hands through panic attacks.
Aww.
I've had to wipe
God
people's
bless you.
tears.
Yeah, that's my
Aww.
wife.
Stop. And so a lot of times I'm just encouraging them, like, I know it hurts right now, but you did this for a reason, or they got all the cancer out. I kind of have to remind them why they did it, or in the end, it'll be worth it.
Mm.
And, it's kind of tricky in the workplace, not trying to like mention Jesus because some people are not Christian and I don't want to get reported or anything. I like my job. So it's just really being encouraging and kind of general way where everyone will accept it and try to be a little different than everyone else so that they notice like there's something about her that made my time a little special.
Yeah, just letting God's light shine through you.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. I'd be at work crying every day.
It's hard sometimes.
I know. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up today. So
Okay.
we spoke about mental health, the battles that we might go through, and how to assess them. We spoke about how leaders can properly, make it a open zone for everyone to express without judgment, so that stigma of the mental health can die down.
Yeah.
We spoke about what new things that we can implement into the church, and how being a community is important for your people, and also as the depressee or the sad person, to express yourself to the people around you, because people care about you, people love about you, and they'll never know unless you speak. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Redeemed podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again.
Absolutely.
Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and please, please, please share this video on all of your social media platforms. Thank you, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.